Hey there everybody, Matt Busby here with Track Tuesday on Wednesday, and we're here with Matt Rogers of MCR Tuning. Tell us about yourself, Matt, what MCR does and everything.
Alright, cool. So like he said, I'm Matt Rogers with MCR Tuning. We are a local shop to the Bowling Green area. We specialize in Gen 3, Gen 4 LS and Gen 5 LT performance for the most part. We get into some other stuff here and there kind of at our discretion. If you check out our page, then our Facebook page, you can see where we do kind of a wide variety of things, but we mostly specialize in Gen 3, Gen 4 LS, and Gen 5 LT performance. We kind of have an emphasis on road course racing and autocross racing. That's what our personal race program is. But we cater to a pretty wide range of racers. We've done everything from show cars to drag cars, but we do emphasize on road course racing and autocross.
Yeah, right on. So what are y'all working on right now?
We got a lot of stuff going on right now. We kind of cycle through. We'll have months where we're doing nothing but Corvettes, and then we have months where we're doing nothing but Camaros, and then we have months where it's just all over the place. Right now it's kind of Camaro month. We've got a pretty wide range of Camaros in the shop right now. We've got some Pro Charged Gen 5 base Camaros. We got some 5th gens. We got one 5th gen that we're doing a turbo build on right now. We're always doing, it seems like a 5th gen, it's just a basic head scan package. A guy that might be going out doing a little bit of road racing on the weekends, some autocross maybe. So stuff like that's always in there, but it's right now big time Camaros, and we're starting up. We're a little late in the season, but that's okay because race season's a little delayed this year. So right now we're getting ready to step back into our shop car, which is a 2018 Camaro ZL1. So we've got that going on right now, new engine build.
NA, right?
No, not NA this time.
NA.
My business partner Brian Shelley, he's the driver of the car. He's a big fan of forced induction, so did not go NA this year, but it's kind of following our development path with that car anyways. So it works. So we're doing a little bit different bottom end combination this year, and we're actually going to be utilizing a Pro Charger instead of the Whipple like we did last season. So that's what's in the works with that Camaro at the moment.
Yeah, what kind of power?
Well, we'll have a pretty wide range depending on what pulley size we decide to go with. We want to make a big dyno number just because that's fun. Who doesn't like making big dyno numbers? So we'll probably see 4-digit power on the small pulley, but as far as where we'll race it at, we're going to have to do a lot of testing with that, dyno testing and actual seat time testing as well. But I'd say we'll probably be in the same power range we were in last year, which was 800, north of 800, depending on what course we were on. We'll probably try to keep it in that area, but the goal with the Pro Charger is to take some of that brunt out of the bottom end that you experience with a positive displacement roots blower. We want to kind of elongate the power curve, make it a little bit more linear, and hopefully it's a little more friendly with road racing and competing in Optima like we are with that car.
Yeah. I mean, it's always a challenge. Just like the Optima Series, Grid Life, a lot of the time attack classes, SCC, Time Trial Nationals, all those. It's fun. Like you said, it's fun to make a whole ton of horsepower on the dyno. But the 200 treadwear thing, and granted, there's this like weird, cool tire war thing going on where the 200 treadwear, just keeps getting faster and faster. Somehow. It's almost like it's a made-up number.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Almost. Who'd
have thought? But you're still trying to put all that power down on a street tire, and doing that in road course is one thing where you kind of got these like long corners, but putting 800-900 horsepower down on a street tire on an autocross, that.
Pretty difficult, especially when torque comes in, with like the LT4 blowers and the Whipples and stuff. You get pretty much all the torque you're going to get right there in that 32 to 4,000 RPM range, and in autocross that can really throw you around in the cones in a way that you don't want to be thrown around. With all this being said, with the development we have on the car and why we're going Pro Charger, if we were in a different race series or we were using this for something else, we may look at an NA setup, because obviously, in my opinion, NA is going to be the most controllable, most reliable. You're going to get a good season out of it. But this is Optima Ultimate Street Car. In our opinion, Ultimate Street Cars are boosted, so we want to have as much fun as we can with that.
Ultimate Street Cars win. So the 6th gen Camaro is actually kind of interesting. We've been talking about it a bunch. I think one of the best deals that you can buy, like if you're looking for a track car or anything like that, one of the best deals you can buy is an SS1 Elite, like a 6th gen 17, 18 SS1 Elite. We're seeing more and more people pick them up. but like the amount of power you guys are making on what, just exhaust intake and
bolt-ons.
yeah.
We've touched, we've gotten close to 500 wheel, on bolt-ons and pump gas. So
yeah, that's kind of ridiculous.
Like what we're making on your car, where we've got heads cam, 350 cubic inch, we're like 450 wheel.
Yeah.
These guys are buying these stock SS1LEs and throwing some headers and getting a good tuner on board and getting close to that number, if not more sometimes. So.
If only I had a good tuner.
Yeah.
So speaking of good tuning, you guys are seeing a lot more, hopefully like a big upswing in business. The current situation, I hope, hasn't slowed anything down for you guys. Certainly has slowed down stuff for us.
Mm-hmm.
But we're hoping that gives more people more time to spend with you, to where they can come out and break their cars again, and the cycle continues. But what's the, what are the common things that you're seeing? Like, what are people asking for all the time? As the industry has changed over the last decade or so, are people more informed or more confused with all the information coming at them, or?
Depending on where, internet's a big popular source for information, obviously. So depending on where and who you're getting your information from, there is, a lot of good info out there. But just like it has been, I'm sure, in this industry since the beginning, there is a massive amount of really bad information on the internet that could get you in trouble. And as far as like what people are asking us for, going back to that same thing on the internet, guys will get on the internet, say for example they have a C7 Corvette, LT4 car, they get on the internet and they say, oh well, this list of mods makes the most power, that's what I want to make the most power, when in reality after we talk to them, we're like, okay, what are you doing with this car, what's your budget, that's a big important part. What do you want to do with this car? How are you going to drive it? What are you going to take it on the weekends, go to the drag strip? Are you going to go to the road course? Like, what are you going to do with it? Once we enter into that conversation and start talking to a customer about stuff like that, a lot of the times the things that they've been reading on the internet that they thought were going to be the best path for their car are, that's not the case, and we'll go with a completely different setup. So as far as information goes, we do see a lot of people coming in, and they have a combination of parts that they've been suggested that would work and would do great and make a bunch of power, but it may not be what they need for what they're going to do with the car.
Yeah. So talking to like Mitch Ryder, general manager, who's been hot rodding a really long time. Yeah. Holley, Bill Tishner, we had Bill last week. People take for granted how much, especially, as to this day, I think hot rodding is still trial and error. Let's try this and let's see if it works. It worked or it didn't work. The difference that I find is everybody's going through that trial and error, but the marketing has come so far in cam packages and header packages and all this kind of stuff to where it's marketed as definitive.
Yes.
Where hot rodding, just in general, modifying vehicles and everything, it's all trial and error. We're going to try. And certain people have come up with formulas, like packages that work. Hey, we know this cam works with this head, that works with this header. But I find more and more the type of people that know those things are less and less willing to just give that kind of information out. You're paying for their trial and error. Like, hey, we've been doing this for a long time. Our trial and error, our journey has led us here, and we like this because this is what we know.
And I'm huge proponent of like having data that I can sit there and show you, like, hey, I know you got online and you read that, like say even your car example, you read these Cook's headers, that's the way to go. I'm not trying to throw any brands out there, but that's the way to go. These are the best headers, and Cook's has a wonderful product. But we decided to go with a less used header on your car. We used the Holley Tri-Y, and all of the data that I have suggests that those headers for what you do with that car, that's the best solution. So you may have read online somewhere that this is the way to go, but in reality, we've already tried out something else and found for what you want to do, this is the way to go.
And those things have actually been kind of magic.
Yeah, and they really are. that's an awesome header. It's a little funny looking Holley, but if you get over the looks of it, man, it's a killer. And that comes down to a conversation you and I had earlier in the week. You just have to trust your tuner, your builder. If you're taking your car to them and saying this is what I want or this is what I have, yada yada, and they come back and they say this, if they have a good name, they've been doing this and they have good results, you've got to trust them. And if you can't, it's time to find somebody that you feel like you can work with and trust, because ultimately a build is not going to go right if you do not trust what your builder and tuner is telling you to do. So
yeah, and that's a big part of it, right? It's not just the trust of you, me as the customer trusting you to do the job that you're going to say, make the power that you're going to say without, doing funny business on the computer or anything like that. But also you as the shop trusting the customer to say, hey, look, you're coming to me for my expertise. Like if I say, hey, I hear you want this, but I'm telling you this is the way you want to go, it's a two-way street, right?
It's a two-way street.
And that comes down to parts, that comes down to tuning, that comes down to all of it, It's just like anything. It's a good conversation, and if you can't drop your car off or have a conversation with the shop with, hey, these are my goals, these are my budget, this is my expectation on timeline. If you can't have that conversation from a place of trust, then you need to find a different shop.
Absolutely, and that has no bearing on the quality of that shop. It has no bearing on, whether they're good or not. Like if you just can't work with somebody, sometimes you just can't. There's lots of shops out there. I'm sure every shop has the same story. Like, yeah, we know we're capable of building this car, for this guy and making this happen, but maybe the customer interaction, the shop interaction just never linked up, and the car never got built the right way or something. That happens a lot, just lack of communication. So it's really important to find a tuner and builder that you can communicate with, that you jive with, and that you can trust, and just try to listen to them, because these guys, this is what they do for a living. Hopefully they've got a pretty good repertoire, and you just have to be able to trust them.
Yeah. One thing that I find a lot of shops get into, it's like a quicksand thing. Like this business is generally pretty feast or famine. Like it's either work's coming out of the walls, or
you're making money.
Yeah, or you're cold calling people. Hey man, you need an oil change? Hey, you want some headers done?
How about that Camry you were talking about a couple weeks ago?
Right. And so one thing, like one little bit of quicksand I see a lot of shops fall into is they just want to say yes. Like, hey, we're jiving, like, all right, we've got a plan, we've got a build, we can do that, but I'm backed up. But I'm going to take your work anyway because, it's work. It's a job. We've got a good rapport. But, maybe not being as, hey, look, I'm probably 3 weeks out. And anytime it's just like anything in filming or anything in contracting, and if the contractor says it's going to be 3 weeks, it's going to be 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And
pretty
so
much.
it's
just a tip for everybody.
Yeah, it's a universal truth, and so I find it's just something that it's part of it, and shops can do a better job of saying, hey, look, I really want to take your job right now, but I'm 2 months out.
Yeah, we're all guilty of it.
Yeah,
it's across the board. The more you can mitigate not having that happen, obviously, the happier everybody's going to be. But it happens.
Yeah.
Really quick, John Cook with one of our motorcycle groups, Track Day Winner. I don't know about this, but can Matt Busby ask Matt Rogers if he knows what a turducken is?
Do you know what a turducken is?
No, I don't.
So this is kind of surprising because Matt and I are both really big foodies. John Cook is a very big foodie as well. A turducken is a South Louisiana delicacy.
Oh.
It is a duck stuffed inside of a chicken, stuffed inside of a turkey.
Okay.
And they sell them around Christmas and Thanksgiving.
Do they actually do that?
It's delicious.
Right.
It is delicious.
3 birds.
Turducken.
3 birds.
3 birds.
Okay.
And then our friend Griff wants to know, Matt Rogers, is your dyno stout enough to handle a Miata? Asking for a friend.
I don't know, man. You might wear those rollers out. I don't know if we'll be able to get your Miata up there or not.
Will it be able to spin the rollers?
That's a better question, Griff. Can you even turn my rollers over, man? No, we've had a few cool Miatas up there. Shout out to Cody Mason. He brought us a really cool turbo Miata before he smacked it up at Grid Life, and that thing was awesome. So we've had some cool Miatas up there.
And then somebody you might know, Matt Rogers, CC said hi.
Oh, hey CC. What's up?
Hi CC. All right, back to you, Matt Busby. This is getting complicated.
So one thing that we've gotten a lot of questions about, we being the NCM Motorsports Park, we're one of the first C8 customers, right? So we got 7 cars in the first allocation. So we have cars here on our track, and so I answer 3 phone calls a day and at least 10 emails a day of, hey, what shock are you guys going to use? What brakes are you going to use? Hey, are you going to put exhaust on it and everything like that? So I think, everybody's excited about the new car.
Absolutely.
GM's selling the hell out of them, right? They're still delivering them. I think they're still building them right now, yeah. from everything from, you know, hey, what exhaust? There are some shops that are doing turbo kits already. Rob Dom in California is gonna four rotor his, which
Yeah, Alex Pietz from Pietz Performance is, I think he's got some turbo kits in development. He's working on some shocks with JRI too. So there's people making parts for him already,
trying to, right. So the big question is, you know, what's the development gonna be like? The C8 is the first GM or one of the first performance vehicles that has the new security system, or can you explain that a little bit better?
Yeah, so they're part of the PCMs, which I can go into this because this was like a big scare back when the ZR1 came out. Everybody got freaked out. But basically, they have a security system, kind of like SHA 256, if you're familiar with that, that requires that you send in the PCM to, I think the only company right now is HPtuners. You send that to them, they do their physical modification to the unit, and I'm sure there's some flashing and things that go along with that. So I'm not sure yet, but I'm pretty sure the C8 is going to be a similar situation where you're looking at having to remove the PCM from the car, send it in, have it modified, and at that point I believe we'll have access. I'm not 100% sure on that. I'd say that's going to be the way it goes, but I haven't seen any like press releases or any information like that yet. But if that's the case, then you know it's just kind of an annoyance. You know, you send it in to them, get it done.
But it's going to be even more like, so just anytime, you know, you've got a new vehicle or whatever like that, and you're going to do that kind of thing, you're going to avoid the warranty, right?
Absolutely.
And this is going to be way more obvious than just like an HPtuners flash or something like that, or you know, it's something that people need to take into consideration. It's
Definitely.
You know, the new cars have a lot more parameters to them, a lot more channels that they're doing.
Torque metric. You know.
Torque metrics, the oil, the way they're metering oil at the ECU level, it's not just all mechanical now.
Yeah, it's they actually take that into consideration and do things to control it now. So
yeah, so there's a lot more to it, right? But it's something that people need to consider as opposed to like, you know, when they bought their 2002 F-body, you know, it's not just throw a cam on it,
drive it straight to the tuner and then start doing what you want to do. Right now, there's some roadblocks for sure. We're waiting on, you know, we'll just say it, we're waiting on HPtuners. That's going to be who offers tuning for those vehicles. That's just how it was with the ZR1 too, and that's going to be the preferred method. So we're waiting on that. Once they have a solution, I'm sure it'll be free game. I'd imagine it's going to be a lot like the Gen 5 stuff as far as logic and tuning goes. I do have a source at PRI that confirmed the car does have onboard widebands. So I don't know, you know, if you don't know what a wideband is, it basically just measures, you know, how much fuel and air you've got coming out of the engine, yada yada. I don't know how that's going to change, you know, tuning logic, but if it's anything like, say, how Dodge does it, it's going to make things a lot easier for us and a lot more tunable. So
yeah, for sure. So keep that in mind if you're buying a C8. We're not recommending you do anything. They are very, very potent, the ones that we have. But know that if you're planning on going down that road, which it's just American car culture,
it's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen. Just know what you're getting yourself into. Know the concessions that you're gonna make on it, and
it's gonna be more expensive.
Way more expensive.
Yeah.
The other bit that I think you know, GM really is getting into that, you know, I know we had this problem with my BRZ is the CAN network, right?
Yes.
So now, how CAN networks work, the PCM has to be able to talk to everything. At once. And if it can't talk to anything, any one thing, that could be AC, that could be, you know, in the BRZ we had a problem, we were trying to tune the motor, and it couldn't communicate to the left door window motor. And because it couldn't talk to the window motor, locked us out.
Yes.
And so just keep that in mind, how complex all this is, how the networking works and everything like that. Keep that in mind when you go to purchase your vehicle. You know, like I said, these things are really, really potent. They're going to get a lot of the job done.
I think we're going to be seeing some NA combos that make a lot of people happy on this new LT2 setup. I think there's going to be a lot of untapped potential. It seems like everybody's first, right off the rip, the first thing they want to do is start developing a twin turbo kit for it. And if you pop the hood or back hatch, whatever it's called, if you pop that and look underneath there, it looks pretty appealing for a turbo setup. So I get that, but I do believe that there's going to be some NA combos put together for that engine that are going to be really potent and really satisfying and very competitive. So.
Well, twin turbo setups are not the market, right? Like you're going to sell 100 of those, right? the more common thing is people are, you know, the traditional stuff. They're gonna want to throw
Bolt-ons,
headers on it. They're
cam.
gonna want to throw an exhaust on it, maybe a cam, an
Tune.
intake, a tune. But that's not gonna be what it was in the last generation car.
It's not going to be easy. No, it's not going to be like just hop on and you know, your local mechanic can install the headers and you and your buddy can install the intake or whatever. There's probably going to be some headaches too. There's going to be some learning curves for us too, because you know the engine, we're used to dropping stuff from the front, and doing stuff from the front. So it looks like a lot of the stuff with the C8 engine removal is going to be a almost necessary kind of thing for a lot of the jobs. So.
Yeah, we've been kind of digging at them, and I mean, like, just the way they're built like race cars. Like, they're built like as corners, right?
Yes.
You know, it's not like you know, I don't know how to describe it. It's built really, really similar to a prototype, and it's really cool to see. Like, the engineering behind it is super interesting.
It's definitely the next level for GM. Anybody that's a naysayer of this whole mid-engine thing, then this is GM just cracking the surface on a whole lot of new, really good motorsports-based, you know, consumer vehicles.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, like, the next generation, you know, the traditional progression, right, is base car, convertible, Z06, Grand Sport, ZR1, and so I'm excited to see the Z06. You know, there was a leak. I don't know, somebody leaked something about a twin cam flat plane, you know, NA motor that's gonna make some serious power, and I'm really excited about that.
I'm excited about it too. There's a lot of people that are not excited about the flat plane crank thing. That's a big controversy right now, but I think it's gonna be cool if they keep the car from shaking itself apart. So.
Yeah, well, that, I mean, like, you know, the wide body, you know, traditionally the Z06 is usually a little bit wider. We've noticed in having our cars up on the rack and like doing oil changes and stuff like that, there is a lot of room underneath them for a lot of tire.
Yes.
And that's going to be another thing that people are going to have to play with and get a feel for is you know, what are the limits of the brakes, what are the limits of the tire, is putting a 315 on the front or whatever it'll fit, you know, because that's what track rats are going to do. They're going to buy a set of wheels and slicks and see what it'll do, and is that going to mess with some of the body control module, the ABS, the shock control?
Probably.
Probably.
Yeah.
You know, we hear this, I remember we've been hearing this about different cars for a long time. I don't know that it'll be as dire as everybody else. I don't know.
We'll see. As far as like our plans with the C8 in development, we don't have one yet. Somebody wants to come bring us one, we're over here. But we don't have one yet. As far as our development plans go, it seems like everybody's just jumping in like right off the bat. It's a trend in this industry and just wanting to go, let's see how much horsepower we can get one of these things to make. Let's put twin turbos on it and scorch the earth. If we get the opportunity, we want to go a little different route. We want to try to do the more accessible, you know, bolt-ons, light cam, you know, competitive weekend car. That's the direction I want to go with it, is start developing some nice naturally aspirated setups for those cars. Seems like everybody else has already jumped on the turbo stuff, so I would really like to try to get a hold of one of those engines and develop a really nice, clean, naturally aspirated setup for one. That's our goal. That's what we want to do.
Yeah, show up, here's my money, and a couple of days later,
If somebody shows up with one, they're like, hey, figured out how to put a positive displacement blower on this or something like that, you know, we're gonna do it. But
yeah, of course.
But we would like to find somebody that's wanting to develop a nice naturally aspirated track car version. So.
Yeah, I think there are going to be people lining up trying to do that now. You know, I know there are people lining up to do that.
We've already been getting phone calls of people asking like, hey, have you guys figured anything out yet? Like, no, we haven't. We're waiting just like you. So once the ball gets rolling, we definitely want to be on the forefront of that. And you know, we've looked at some of the cars you guys have. You know, we've got some other friends that have shown us the cars, and we've looked them over, and we think it's going to be something we can definitely handle and do some really cool, great stuff with. I would like to get my hands on a tune off of one and start looking that over, but if it's anything like the previous Gen 5 Logic, we've had massive success tuning those vehicles. That's probably one of the best things we do. So hopefully it's pretty similar.
Yeah. Right
And then really quick, Matt, Christy wants to know, what is the hottest car you have had on the dyno?
Recently, we have a lot of cars on the dyno, so it gets muddled up, but recently we had a customer bring us a 2016 C7 Z06 that we just went like full max effort blower package on, which that means we try to get the most horsepower using the stock blower that GM provides, and that thing made like 850 wheel torque at 3,000 RPMs and was just a total like rocket ship, just deadly fast to drive. So that's probably the baddest thing we've had on the dyno here recently, would be that Corvette.
So lastly, we're going to talk a little bit about something we haven't really seen a whole bunch about lately, is the Ferrari.
Aha, the Ferrari.
So, MCR has a, what year is it, 98?
Yep, NCR and my business partner Brian Shelley. He's a technical owner of the car, but we have the car there and we built it. We're partners and everything. It's a '98 Ferrari 550. Kind of started out as a Texas flood car back during all that Houston stuff, and now it's D-stroked LS3, so it's kind of around 5.5 liters. Twin turbo. We got a couple of Garrett GTX Gen 2 turbos on that thing. And right now it's just kind of chilling. I think we posted a burnout video of it a couple weeks ago. We got it out and did some burnouts. As far as plans with that car, we're still just kind of cleaning it up and developing that and bringing it around and showing it off still.
Yeah. So what's the, what's the story behind it? Why?
Oh man, why? So when we started MCR Tuning, obviously this is a not super saturated market, but you got to do some stuff to stand out, and we wanted to kind of showcase A, our creativity, and B, our skill level, and we went across a huge gambit of cars that we would like to LS swap. Obviously we wanted to LS swap because that's kind of our thing. We do, like I said in the beginning, Gen 3, Gen 4 LS, Gen 5 LT, that's our bread and butter, that's what we like doing the most. So we decided we wanted to LS swap something, and my business partner, he's a pretty crazy guy. If anybody knows him, he's got some wild ideas all the time. He's full of ideas. So he called me up one day, and he said, hey, I'm down here at this auction. There's this 98 Ferrari. I think it's like 97, 98, I don't know, but it was in a flood. I can pick it up for a pretty good price. I'm thinking maybe we'll flip this thing or we'll do something with it. And I kind of honestly thought he was joking. And then about 2 hours later, he showed up with a Ferrari on a flatbed and dropped into the shop and said, hey, I don't know what we're going to do with this thing, but let's figure it out. And then, the stock V12 came out because it had been flooded and it was junk, so it was time to sell that. And then I think somebody set like an LS block down in the engine bay just for jokes, and we looked at it and we were like, let's LS swap this Ferrari. This is it. And so that kind of just spiraled out of control. We wanted to get it done for LS Fest, and it ended up being a twin turbo build, and it's turned into this and it's turned into that. And just to be honest, we really haven't pegged out this is what we're going to be doing with this car. As of right now, it's just a really cool Ferrari with an LS swap that makes a whole bunch of horsepower. But we would like to develop it into something a little bit more usable and raceable. But it did all kind of start out as just what can we do to show what we can do.
Yeah, so, sure. Yeah, even if you put it on a bring a trailer, hey, cool exercise in what's possible. I think it was cool. I remember when you guys were doing that, it's a transaxle car with a torque tube really
Ferrari rear transmission, yeah.
Yeah, so the whole nuts and bolts of it really wasn't that big of a deal. It's building a torque tube adapter and engine mounts and
pretty much
figuring out how to wire it in.
Yeah, and we went to we seeked out the fabrication services of a local shop kind of early on in the build, and then some things progressed and we took over fabrication from there. But early on, a company here in Bowling Green called King Speed did the original engine mounts for us. They worked out pretty good. We're still in that same position that King Speed set up, but from there out, the car, man, that thing has just been one crazy deal after another. Big part of that car, and somebody that has to be mentioned any time that I talk about this car, is Jake Hatfield with JH Performance. He made, for those of you that don't know, when you get in the Ferrari and you start it, it has full factory Ferrari gauges. So Ferrari tack, Ferrari speedo, Ferrari gas, Ferrari oil pressure, all that's being fed in from a GM PCM, and that absolutely would have been something that we just wouldn't have A, had the time, and B, probably not the knowledge or skill set to make that happen. So fortunately, we had Jake on our side with wiring on that car.
Yeah, very cool.
Very cool. Great guy.
Very cool. So last question before we sign off. Do we have any more questions?
Nope.
Where do you see the paddock? Where do you see the aftermarket world in 10 years?
In 10 years, I feel like a lot of people ask this question and they want to know what I'm going to say about electric cars. Is that where you're going with this? You want to know what happens?
Electric cars,
yeah.
Security measures, especially Tesla starting to do it, Toyota, I think GM starting to do it, to where you no longer have to bring a car in to a dealer for
over-the-air
software.
updates.
Yeah. So the more they can do over-the-air updates, the more secure they have to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how does that affect what we do?
It's going to get harder. There's no doubt about it. It's going to keep getting harder and harder and harder to get into these PCMs and modify, what the manufacturer has deemed to be. This is what it is. If you add anything else, too bad. It's just going to keep getting harder. There's no doubt in my mind that there's going to come a point to where it's just really expensive to get in and modify the tune on a stock PCM, and the industry's already responding to that. I feel like there's guys switching over to, in the LS world, Holley EFI. Here recently we did a Holley EFI setup where we integrated a factory 0411 GM PCM so that the car could still retain factory gauges, some factory controls, comfort controls, stuff like that. So we're already responding to that. We're already seeing that these stock PCMs are going to be issues, and it's starting. So it's definitely moving in that direction. It's going to be harder. I think at some point it's going to be where you can't do it all, and you're going to be reaching over to a standalone to reach your goal. As far as where I see things, with racing in 10 years, I think electric cars are coming up. Just for example, look at Formula. There's already Formula E. I think that's going to be a big thing, but I don't think that in our lifetime, maybe, but I really doubt it, that you'll see internal combustion engines just go to the wayside.
No.
Because car guys just have a natural, we want that roar. It's great to get out there in a Tesla and pin it, and it's just like, whoa, everything's there all of a sudden. But it's missing that element of an internal combustion engine, that roar and that scream that people just love. It feels faster. You're in a loud car. You could be in a loud car, 400 horsepower car next to a 400 horsepower car. One has loud exhaust and one doesn't. You feel faster in the loud car.
Sure.
As far as racing goes, I see the road course world blowing up. I think that's the next venue in this country, anyways. The next venture for racing is road course racing. It's gonna get really big. I think drag racing is. I don't know how those guys can go any faster.
But
there's 6-second manual GM cars now. You know what I mean? Are you guys gonna start driving to the track and running a 4-second pass somehow? That's awesome, but I don't know how it's gonna grow anymore.
the one thing I've come to realize over the last few years is how, and all the road course folks will kind of snicker at this, how affordable it is compared to drag racing.
Yeah. It may cost you like $500 to come out and do a race or something like that, but when you look at competitive drag racing, I've been in it. The amount of money that goes into that is just it's unbelievable. These guys literally live to drag race, it seems like. So you're right on that for sure.
Yeah, we talk a lot about like the 275, 245 drag radio classes, and those are all 1,500 horsepower cars that need love after every pass.
Always on the tune-up.
Yeah, and it's man, Miatas start looking better and better for a road course team.
Yeah, Miatas are looking better every day, right?
Right.
Griff.
Yeah, right. Well, Matt, thanks for coming by.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for chatting. If you need any love for your vehicle for when we do get back to road course stuff, give Matt at MCR Tuning a call and they'll get you set up, or at least have a conversation about getting you set up.
Yeah, for sure. Just give us a shout. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys.